Okay, here's part 2 of lesson 4.4. So we just have the last page of our handout to finish, which is the 4 examples. So it says write each equation in vertex form. So we might need to do that a few different ways for each one. They're not all going to be done the same way. So you'll learn a few methods here. So number 1, y equals x squared plus 5x. So we're always going to start by trying to factor. If we can't factor, then we'll use partial factoring. But if we can completely factor, then we want to do that. So we need to ask ourselves, what's the greatest common factor? What could I take out of each term? In this case, I can take an x out of each term. So let's do that. X squared divided by x is x, and 5x divided by x is 5. Now I can find the zeros by setting each section equal to 0. So x equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0. Subtract 5 from both sides on this one, x equals negative 5. So my zeros are 0 and negative 5. Now I can find the axis of symmetry because that's halfway between the zeros. So 0 plus negative 5 divided by 2 is negative 2.5. In order to find the rest of the vertex, so the vertex starts negative 2.5 comma something, in order to find that blank, I'll take the negative 2.5 and plug it back into my original equation in the place of x. So y equals negative 2.5 squared plus 5 times negative 2.5. Negative 2.5 squared is 6.25, and 5 times negative 2.5 is negative 12.5. 6.25 plus negative 12.5 is negative 6.25. So that's the rest of my vertex. Now I had to put this into vertex form, so I will start with the same a value as I'm given in the original equation, which is 1 in this case, so I don't need to write it. So y equals a value of 1, x minus negative 2.5, so x plus 2.5 squared minus 6.25. And that's now in vertex form. Number 2, y equals 2x squared minus 10x plus 11. So first we're going to try to factor it. And if we can't do that, then we'll partially factor. So in order to factor this, I would need to do 2 times 11 is 22. Two numbers that multiply to 22 and add to negative 10. No, that doesn't work. So we're going to partially factor instead. That means we're going to look at the first 2 terms and see what we can factor out. So we could take out a 2 and an x. So we'll be left with x minus 5. And then that 11 still there on the end. So I'm going to take the first 2 sections and set them equal to 0. 2x equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0. Solve for x. X equals 0. Add 5 to both sides. X equals 5. So these are not my zeros, but these are 2 points that are the same distance apart from each other on my graph. So these 2 points are 0, 11, remember that number on the end there, and 5, 11. Now I'm going to find the axis of symmetry, which is halfway between the x coordinates. So 0 plus 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So far for my vertex, I have 2.5 comma blank. Take the 2.5 back to the original equation and plug it in the place of x to solve for the rest of the vertex. So y equals 2 times 2.5 squared minus 10 times 2.5 plus 11. So just the 2.5 here is squared, not the 2. So 2.5 squared is 6.25. Negative 10 times 2.5 is negative 25 plus 11. 2 times 6.25 minus 25 plus 11 is negative 1.5. So that's the rest of my vertex here. So to put this into vertex form, I need to take the same a value from the original equation. So y equals 2, bracket, x minus h is 2.5, squared, plus k is negative 1.5. And that is now in vertex form. Number 3, y equals negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 16. So first look for a greatest common factor. I can take a negative 2 out of all of these terms, so negative 2x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now looking just at the bracket there, I need to check if I can factor this. So two numbers that multiply to 8 and add to negative 6 would be negative 4 and negative 2. So this can be fully factored. X minus 4, x minus 2. Now I can find the zeros, find the axis of symmetry, plug that back in to find the rest of the vertex, and then have put that into vertex form. So my zeros, I'll set each bracket equal to 0. X minus 4 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals 4 and x equals 2. My axis of symmetry is 4 plus 2 divided by 2 equals 6 over 2 equals 3. So my vertex is going to be 3 comma something. Take the 3, plug it back into the original equation for x, and then I'll be able to find the rest of the vertex. Y equals negative 2 times 3 squared plus 12 times 3 minus 16. Negative 2 times 9 plus 36 minus 16. Negative 18 plus 36 minus 16 is 2. So the rest of my vertex is 2. My vertex is 3 comma 2. Put this into vertex form. My a value is the same as the original, so start with negative 2. X minus 3 squared plus 2. And then number 4, find the equation with zeros of negative 3 and 11 and a minimum value of negative 35. So zeros are negative 3 and 11 and a minimum value of negative 35. So what that means is on my graph, the very lowest it goes on the y-axis is negative 35. So my vertex is going to be something comma negative 35. That negative 35 is the y-coordinate. Now, how can I find the x-coordinate? Well, the x-coordinate of the vertex is our axis of symmetry, and since I'm given the zeros, I can find the axis of symmetry. So negative 3 plus 11 divided by 2. Negative 3 plus 11 is 8. Divided by 2 is 4. So this number is 4. My vertex is 4 comma negative 35. So I'm going to start in vertex form this time. Y equals a, x minus h squared plus k. Now I know the vertex is h and k, so I can plug that in here. So I have y equals a, x minus 4 squared minus 35. Now I need to find the a value. So in order to find that, I can plug in either one of my zeros. So to write your zeros as a coordinate, they happen on the x-axis. So that means y at that point is 0. So my points are negative 3, 0, or 11, 0. Either one of those can be plugged into this equation in vertex form to solve for a. So I'm going to choose negative 3, 0. So remember that's x comma y. So plug negative 3 in for x and 0 in for y. So 0 equals a, negative 3 minus 4 squared minus 35. 0 equals A. Negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7 squared minus 35. Now I'm going to add 35 to both sides. Now I have 35 equals A, and then I'll do negative 7 squared is 49. Now to get A by itself, I just need to divide both sides by 49. So I have A equals 35 over 49, which both of those are divisible by 7. 35 divided by 7 is 5, and 49 divided by 7 is 7. So A equals 5/7. So that means my final equation is y equals 5/7 x minus 4 squared minus 35. And I got the rest of the equation from here, which I already found earlier. So this is that equation in vertex form. Okay, one more thing that I want to add is if you go back to number 2, and sometimes in your homework questions, questions like number 2 will ask you to graph these. So in order to graph this, if you need to draw a sketch, you would plot the vertex. So in this case, the vertex is 2.5, negative 1.5. So say it's right about there. You would label the numbers, but draw the vertex, and then these 2 points can be your other points. So 0, 11, and 5, 11. And that's enough information to draw this graph, a sketch of this graph. So you don't need to do all of the transformations or anything like that for the sketches in your homework. Just those, if you have 3 points, whether they're the zeros or the 2 points that are across from each other and the vertex, that's enough information to draw the graph. All right, let me know if you have any questions with your homework, and I'll talk to you soon.